Welcome back, Darklings, to the Silent Lodge, where folklore hides in plain sight, and forgotten truths whispered just beneath the surface. If you enjoy unsettling stories wrapped in history, don't forget to subscribe. We go deep where others don't dare. Today's tale begins with a question wrapped in rhyme, cloaked in innocence. Who killed Cock Robin? On the surface, it's a quaint children's verse, but beneath it lies a far older, more disturbing reality. This nursery rhyme first appeared in print in 1744, yet it feels like something passed down by word of mouth for centuries. It opens with a shocking confession. "I," said the sparrow, "with my bow and arrow, I killed Cock Robin." What follows isn't a whodunit, it's a ritual. A fly sees him die. A fish catches his blood. A beetle sews his burial shroud. Each bird plays its role in preparing the robin's funeral. It's solemn. It's symbolic. It's disturbingly organized. The funeral of a bird, conducted with near religious precision. Why would a nursery rhyme teach children about death, blood, and mourning? In the Victorian era, dark themes weren't uncommon in children's stories. But Cock Robin stands out. It doesn't just flirt with death, it fully embraces it. And many believe it was never meant for children in the first place. Let's explore the most well-known theory first: political satire. Some scholars believe Who Killed Cock Robin is a veiled attack on a fallen political giant, Sir Robert Walpole, the man often called Britain's first prime minister. In 1742, Walpole's reign ended in disgrace. After decades of power, he was forced to resign, and his enemies rejoiced. 2 years later, Cock Robin was published. Too perfect to be coincidence. The connection deepens when you learn that Robin was a common nickname for Robert. Critics often called Walpole Robin, mocking his dominance by calling his administration Robin's rule. According to this theory, the sparrow who kills Cock Robin represents one of Walpole's rivals, possibly a political figure who delivered the final blow to his career. The remaining birds, they play the mourners, clergy, and bystanders. A symbolic funeral, not for a bird, but for a toppled prime minister. Even the rook, a blackbird carrying a book, serves as the parson. The symbolism is too tight, too deliberate to be meaningless. Could this rhyme have been a poetic hit job? A cryptic commentary mocking the death of political power? It's a chilling thought that one of our most familiar nursery rhymes may have started life as sharp-edged propaganda. But what if this story didn't begin with politics at all? What if Cock Robin's roots stretch even deeper into ancient folklore, forgotten rituals, and blood-soaked beliefs? To uncover the true origins of Who Killed Cock Robin, we must dig deeper, past politics and into the shadows of ancient tradition. Some folklorists believe this rhyme predates the 1700s by centuries, maybe even millennia. Let's begin with the language itself. The rhyme contains a curious line. "Who'll dig his grave? I," said the owl, "with my pick and shovel." That doesn't rhyme in modern English, but in Middle English, shovel sounded more like shell, which rhymed perfectly with owl. This subtle linguistic clue hints that the rhyme, or at least elements of it, could date back to the 1400s or earlier, passed orally through generations long before it was ever printed. Even more compelling is a 15th century stained glass window found in Buckland Rectory, Gloucestershire. It shows a robin pierced by an arrow. The image is hauntingly similar to the death described in a rhyme. Why would a church window from the 1400s depict a murdered robin? Could this have been a common symbol in medieval folklore? It suggests that Cock Robin wasn't just a rhyme. It was part of a broader, older story. Then there's the verse fragment written in 1460 by a schoolmaster named Thomas Short. It speaks of a sparrow shooting an arrow, just like in the rhyme. The motif was already embedded in English storytelling. The theme echoes again in John Skelton's 1508 poem Philip Sparrow, a long, strange lament for a dead bird. Like Cock Robin, it blends absurdity with ritual, using the style of a solemn church service to mourn a pet. But this wasn't just about a pet bird. Gilton's poem was a subtle critique of the Catholic Church's funeral rites, using the death of a sparrow to highlight the theatrical nature of religious ceremony. The eerie resemblance is hard to ignore. Both stories use the death of a small bird to explore big themes: mourning, ritual, and societal absurdity. Now, let's go even older. Across the British Isles, there's a centuries-old tradition called Wren Day, still celebrated in parts of Ireland and the Isle of Man. Every December 26th, St. Stephen's Day, villagers would hunt a wren, mount its body on a decorated staff, and parade it through the streets in a bizarre fusion of celebration and mourning. Boys dressed in straw costumes, covered in ivy and ribbons, would sing, dance, and demand offerings from locals. The ritual was meant to ensure good fortune for the coming year. Sound familiar? The procession, the decorated bird, the ceremonial tones, all eerily mirror the funeral for Cock Robin. Some believe that the wren represented the old year, sacrificed to make way for the new. Could Cock Robin, with his red breast, represent the new year, born from sacrifice? If so, this rhyme could be a faded echo of Celtic pagan ritual, disguised as a children's verse, preserved through centuries of changing faith, empire, and language. So far, we've followed Cock Robin from a political allegory to a possible echo of ancient sacrifice. But the symbolism doesn't stop with the Wren Day ritual. There are even deeper myths buried in this rhyme, some stretching into pagan and Norse mythology. In ancient Celtic traditions, it was believed that a sacred king ruled for a set time, and at the end of his reign, he was ritually killed to ensure the land's fertility and the people's prosperity. The king's death was not a tragedy. It was a renewal. The wren, called Dreelin in Irish, literally translating to druid bird, was associated with knowledge, the old year, and sacred rituals. Slaying it wasn't violence. It was cosmic housekeeping. Now enter the robin, bright red-breasted and tied to rebirth. In some interpretations, the robin symbolized the new year, the return of the sun, and the hope of spring. The robin and wren, life and death, winter and rebirth, to birds representing a cosmic cycle. Suddenly, who killed Cock Robin isn't a random bird funeral anymore. It might be a fragmented memory of these ancient rites, ritualized death, followed by symbolic mourning and collective renewal. Archaeological evidence supports the idea of ritual killings in early Celtic and Germanic cultures. Consider the bog bodies of northern Europe, preserved corpses found in peat bogs, many bearing signs of ceremonial sacrifice. Some of these bodies were buried with items that suggest priestly or royal status, supporting the theory of ritual sacrifice for the sake of the land. Their deaths weren't accidental. They were part of something bigger. Could the robin in our rhyme be a folk memory of a sacred victim? A stand-in for the king, sacrificed by the community, his blood caught in a dish, his grave dug with solemn ceremony? This brings us to an even stranger connection, one hidden in Norse mythology. The death of Baldur, the god of light and purity, bears an uncanny resemblance to the tale of Cock Robin. In the Norse myth, Baldur is slain by a mistletoe dart, guided by the trickster Loki. His death is deeply mourned, not just by the gods, but by all of nature. Animals, trees, even the stones of the earth weep. In Who Killed Cock Robin, all the birds of the air sigh and sob when the bell tolls. The resemblance is chilling. Both stories center on the death of a pure figure and the communal mourning that follows. But why do these stories, one Norse, one English, echo each other so closely? Could they be different versions of the same archetype? A sacred death, surrounded by symbolic ritual? We may never know. But the parallels suggest that Cock Robin could be more than folklore. It might be part of a pan-European mythological tradition, softened into rhyme to survive the passing centuries. Of course, these pagan and mythological connections are still debated. While they're compelling, they rely more on symbolism than solid evidence. Still, the resonance is too strong to dismiss entirely. But what if this isn't just myth or metaphor? What if the rhyme reflects a real murder, a king slain in the forest, and a truth buried under centuries of poetry? What if Who Killed Cock Robin isn't just mythology or metaphor, but a coded retelling of an actual royal death? There's a chilling theory that connects the rhyme to a real assassination, one that has haunted British history for over 900 years. In the year 1100, King William II of England, better known as William Rufus, was killed by an arrow while hunting in the New Forest. The event was sudden, violent, and deeply suspicious. The official story claims it was an accident, struck by a stray arrow fired by nobleman Walter Tyrrell. But Tyrrell fled the country immediately after the king's death, escaping to France without explanation. Historians have long debated the incident. Was it an unfortunate mishap, or was it a carefully orchestrated assassination, covered up by those who stood to benefit from the king's death? William Rufus was never a beloved monarch. He clashed with the church, ruled with an iron hand, and maintained tense relations with his family. His younger brother Henry wasted no time seizing the throne. Now ask yourself, in a rhyme where a robin is struck down by an arrow, and all creatures around mourn in order, could this be a poetic retelling of William's fall, disguised in metaphor? Even the sparrow, the one who confesses to killing Cock Robin, could be a veiled reference. Perhaps not Walter Tyrrell, but someone else entirely, hidden beneath symbolic wings. According to this theory, the rhyme isn't just an innocent tale or even ancient ritual memory. It's an encoded murder confession, cleverly disguised in verse. And it wouldn't be the only case of history preserved this way. Folk songs and ballads have long been used to remember taboo stories, riddled in rhyme so they could be passed down without persecution. Whether it's the fall of a politician, the death of a sacred king, or the assassination of a monarch, Cock Robin seems to carry a single repeated message: the powerful fall, and someone always benefits. As the rhyme evolved through the centuries, new details were added, some faded, others twisted into darker forms. And nowhere did it take on more meaning than in the Victorian era. In the 1800s, robins became icons of innocence and loss. Their image was printed on Christmas cards and mourning literature. The bird's red breast came to symbolize sacrifice and purity, even evoking Christian symbolism. Some saw the robin as a Christ figure, its blood-red chest representing the crucifixion, its death a metaphor for salvation. The rhyme, already somber, became near religious in tone. And in this period, the rhyme evolved further. One version even gave the sparrow a trial, where he is found guilty and hanged for killing Cock Robin. Justice served through poetry. But whether the robin was a king, a god, or a sacrificial offering, one thing is clear: its death meant something, and the rhyme never lets you forget it. So far, we've seen how Who Killed Cock Robin could be a political satire, a pagan ritual, a forgotten myth, or even the echo of a royal assassination. But the story doesn't end there. The Victorian era added its own layers, both emotional and symbolic. By the 19th century, the image of a dead robin was deeply woven into Victorian mourning culture. Death was everywhere, photographed, painted, celebrated in poetry. And the robin, with its fragile beauty and red-breasted symbolism, became the perfect icon of lost innocence. Victorian Christmas cards often showed dead or dying robins draped in snow, watched over by other animals. What would seem morbid to us now was then seen as a reflection on life's transience and the bittersweet beauty of loss. The rhyme, too, shifted tone. The robin's death began to be seen as tragic and noble, a poetic symbol of purity slain by the cruelty of the world, and some versions added even darker endings. A sequel poem emerged in the 1800s, The Trial of the Sparrow. In it, the sparrow who killed Cock Robin is tried by a jury of birds and found guilty. The final scene? He's hanged for his crime. What began as a cryptic riddle became a fully developed morality tale, complete with justice, judgment, and punishment. It wasn't just about death anymore. It was about guilt. But the symbolism goes further still. In some interpretations, the arrow that kills Cock Robin isn't just a weapon, it's a metaphor. In ancient fables, birds shot down by their own feathers symbolize pride, betrayal, or self-destructs. Take the Greek fable of the wounded eagle. Struck by an arrow made from its own feathers, the eagle realizes it was undone by its own kind, by something it trusted. The lesson: the higher you fly, the more painful the fall. Folktales echo this idea. In the Brothers Grimm story, The Death of the Little Hen, a procession of animals tries to bury their dead friend, but one by one, each dies in strange and tragic ways. Much like Cock Robin, it's a grim and almost surreal reflection on the inevitability of death and the ways grief spreads through a community, one soul at a time. And then there's one final theory, one that links Cock Robin not just to kings or gods, but to England's most famous outlaw, Robin Hood. In some versions of Robin Hood's death, he is betrayed by a cousin, who bleeds him out under the guise of healing. As he lays dying, Robin shoots one last arrow and asks to be buried where it lands. There's even a gravestone, called Robin Hood's Grave, in Yorkshire, where legend says he lies buried. The themes of betrayal, blood, and burial mirror those in the rhyme with eerie similarity. Could Who Killed Cock Robin be the final echo of Robin Hood's death, transformed by oral tradition into a symbolic rhyme? A story of betrayal, justice, and mourning, passed from mouth to mouth until only animals remained. Whatever the truth, whether it's myth, murder, or memory, this creepy nursery rhyme is far more than it seems. If it chilled your spine, don't forget to subscribe to The Silent Lodge, where forgotten tales come back to life.